Okay, hello to the group. John Sturr here in Holiday, Utah. I want to mix it up a little bit today, and I want to talk about watches. And specifically, I want to talk about watch straps. But let's start off with the watches. I've got a Invicta cheap Rolex knockoff, about a $40 to $50 watch, depending upon where you get it. I don't wear it much. But the cool thing is that it's an automatic, and for the price paid and what it is quite the performer, quite something with what they've done. Something to consider if you're on a budget. Then I have a vintage Seiko tuna can with the silver bezel. Great watch. I think I got this on eBay about 12, 13 years ago, and I can't remember what I paid for it. I think I was gonna say it was like $425, $500, and I think there are a lot more, but love this watch. Needs a battery though. The battery just died on it last week. And then I have my quintessential end-all be-all Citizen Aqualand from 1995. I got it before I went in the Army. And this survived Baghdad. It survived everything, and it's been great. And since then, I've been quite the Aqualand fan. This is their first generation, and it doesn't do a whole lot. It tells you your depth, has some alarms and different things, date. But if you are looking for a watch, they still make this. They make it in the new model, and it's about $300. You can get them used, but be careful when you're getting them used so you know what you're getting. And then it does take a battery. But what I want to talk about are the bands. And I found out about these bands during my active duty service. And they're the Zulu. As I look them up here, they are called the Four Ring Zulu NATO style. And I think they may have been started by Maritac, but I'm not too sure. The great thing about this is that when you're wearing a timepiece and you're in an active environment, if one of your spring bars lets loose, your watch falls off your wrist, and that's a no-go. That's a real no-go. So it attaches underneath the two spring bars. You just slide it through. I can kind of demonstrate. And you just slide them through, and then you slide this through, and now all of a sudden, if you lose a spring bar, your watch strap doesn't come off your wrist. The watch itself is going to flop around and dangle a little bit, but you're going to feel that on your wrist, realize it, and then you'll be able to take the watch off and secure it, put it in your pocket, pack, whatever, and you'll still have, you'll still have your watch. That might not be a concern to some for a $50 or $60 watch, or $100 or $200 watch, but if you're wearing a Rolex Submariner or something of that nature, something to think about when you're doing things. These are available online. The difference is sometimes in the weave, in the thickness, and how the nylon is woven. So, not a big fan of the nylon that doesn't have a much density to it. Maybe that's a good word. You can get them on eBay. You can get them off Maritac.com. You can get them off Amazon. But it has to be a double ring. And you got to have the two rings. And I don't know why they use two rings. They can get away with one ring. Because when you close it, you just tuck them in, and I always tuck this back in on itself. So I like to keep them long in case I'm wearing them over a piece of gear or a shirt or something. Rarely do I trim them, but you can trim them and then burn them down so they don't fray. And they come in different colors, of course. Obviously these two are red, and this is the kind of the grayish, greenish that was big with the Army back in the day. And then I got one on here, and this is the orange one. This is orange. It's been used a lot, very durable. And the other great thing about these Citizen watches, I'll use this one right here, is that the spring bars are some of the beefiest, thickest spring bars I've ever seen on a timepiece. And that's huge. Like I said, this is the only watch that's ever survived airborne operations. And you're always catching things on gear, no matter what, when you're doing military type things or you're in the field. Your watch is always catching on something as you're just doing normal stuff. And these spring bars are tough as nails, and they're awesome. And that's from the factory. I didn't make any modifications. And with the older style, you got to be sure the screws are always set in place, because these screws are like impossible to get, even from Citizen. I don't think they support any of replaceable type screws. The bezel is raised on this a little bit, whereas this one is flush. So that's my thoughts on the 4-ring Zulu NATO style watch band. And I'm going to put some links in the description to let you guys know. But my goal is to get a Rolex Submariner or a Deep Sea and take off that bracelet and put on one of these. And not only would it look very good, it would look incredible, but it would be functional too, because I would never want anything to fail on that whole system. And these are the safety, you know, because if you lose a spring bar, you'll still have your timepiece, and that's important. So that's my story on my watches, some of my watch collection. I hardly ever wear this. Automatics are hard for me to wear because I have so many different options to choose from, and I don't have one of those automatic winders where you set your watch on and it kind of moves around and keeps it always wound. Because then other than that, I got to set the date and I got to set the time and yada yada. So I'm always on the battery versions, or you know, Casio even has what's it called, the Echo Drive system, but they haven't ever put an Echo Drive in one of these. That would be really nice if they did. You know, the Echo Drive with the solar and different stuff. Okay. Have any questions, let me know. This is good info, especially if you're into kind of this stuff. And if you go to Amazon or eBay or AliExpress, you can get all the watch bands you want. And they've come up in price. I want to say they're about $7 or $8, but I think they're more than that. I think they're over 20 now, which is kind of a lot of money. But some of the details they put into the rings are really nice too. Some of them are polished, some of them are black, different colors. Okay, cheers.